God morning. God morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sabbath. Welcome to the Wake Up Show. I'm Brother Isaac K. Fingers. First and foremost, all praises and glory and honor goes to the Father in the mighty name of Jesus. Peace, family. Peace, everybody that's out there. Shalom. Shalom. Grace and peace. And all them good greetings. Again, welcome to the Wake Up Show. I'm Brother Isaac K. Fingers. Please like and share the video. All right. Do a watch party too. I notice when some people go live that other people share it as a watch party. So do that as well. All right. Bring your kiddies along. All right. Because as you see from the title of this, is Christ a respecter of children? All right. We're going to get into will Christ, who I call Jesus, who some people call Yahawashi or Yeshua, or a whole bunch of other names, will get down on children. He will do that. Even though the world has been taught, no, Jesus loves the little children. All the children of the world, red and yellow, black and white, they're precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. That's what I was taught when I was a child. And He does love the little children. But if little children get out of line, Jesus will handle His business with them through other people or Himself. All right? So again, welcome to the Wake Up Show. I thank everybody for tuning in. Please share the video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Even if you just like watching me on Facebook, please subscribe to the YouTube channel so eventually one day I can go back live again, all right, on YouTube. So now that we're going to open up and read the Bible, we'll do a lesson on that too. Now I'm opening up and reading the Bible. Let's go to Isaiah 28. Let's go to Isaiah 28. We're going to start reading at verse 9. We're going to open up first before we get into the lesson. And this is what I always like to open up with for newcomers. All right? Isaiah 28, verse 9. Whom shall He teach knowledge? And whom shall He make understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. This is the Father, through the Holy Ghost and through the Son, teaching the nation of Israel. He's teaching them. And anybody else that want to become a part of the nation of Israel too, the Commonwealth of Israel. He's teaching them because they have to go out and teach the rest of the world. Verse 10. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little or there a little. Precept must be upon precept. This is what we're going to be doing today in this lesson, putting precept upon precept, line upon line. We're going to read here a little, read there a little. All right, let's go to Isaiah. Oh, I didn't finish. I'm sorry. Verse 11. For with stammering lips and another tongue will He speak to this people. So the Lord is already known how stiff-necked we are, how rebellious we are, and how we had to go to other nations because of our stupidity. All right? We went through other nations as slaves. Now we're all in other countries, and He's speaking to us through the language that we speak. Not necessarily Hebrew. There's nothing wrong with Hebrew. I don't have a problem with it. But once you learn it, whichever form of Hebrew you learn, Paleo, Yiddish, whatever, don't start turning around and telling people, hey, you're not going to understand what the Lord is really saying unless you know the Hebrew. I say it all the time. God is not a vain God where He's going to put people in the fire because they did not learn a language. That's not the God that I serve. The God that I serve gave everybody a fair chance in their language. For with stammering lips and another tongue will He speak to this people. So he's teaching us in other languages. I learned in English, and that's why I teach in English. Let's go to Isaiah 8. We're going to read one verse, Isaiah 8, verse 20. To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So, the Lord has taught Israel. Israel is around the world. And everybody that's in this ministry or in the nation of priests must teach the law and the testimony from Genesis to Revelation. You can't just teach Matthew to Jude, because some don't even like to go to Revelation. You can't just teach that and that's it. You can't just deal with the Gospels and Paul's letters and not deal with the law and the prophets. All right? You can't teach Moses and the prophets without teaching the testimony, the gospel, and the epistles. You have to teach all of it together. And for you Torah only folks, you got to teach the prophets too. So you have to teach from Genesis to Revelation. That's what this is saying. If you are a child of God and you're trying to sit out here and teach folks, you got to go from Genesis to Revelation. And speaking of Genesis to Revelation, let's go to Revelation. Let's see who are the people that are actually going to get into the kingdom, because not only they taught, but they lived out Genesis to Revelation. Revelation 14 and 12. Here are the patience of the saints. So the saints are the ones that are going to get into the kingdom. But what did they do to actually get into the kingdom? Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. That's Genesis to Revelation. They kept the commandments of God. They heard what Jesus said. Jesus even said himself, if you love me, keep my commandments. But a lot of people don't think that Jesus is the God of the Old Testament. We're going to deal with that today before we get into the children, because the children and some adults need to understand who Jesus really is. All right? So that's how I open up. Again, thank you guys for watching. Please share, like the video, bring your kiddies along. This time when I do this, I don't have to say parental discretion is advised. I took a couple of, I made this for teenagers originally, all right? But I know there's other people that like to let their little kids watch. So there's some things I took out, some things I added in. So, is Christ a respecter of children? Now, we all know, adults, from the Bible, that God is not a respecter of persons. He doesn't care if you're Israel or not. If you're not doing what he said to do, he will take you out or reserve you for the fire. It's just that simple. That's what the Lord will do. If you're a part of the nation of Israel, or if you are another nation and you become a part of the commonwealth of Israel, the Lord will have respect for you because you have respect for his rules. That's how it is, even in the family structure. If the children do not respect the father and the mother's rules, the father and the mother will not respect the children. So, let's go to Numbers 14. Now, the reason I put this lesson together is because at the class that I go to, and I used to teach the children's class, one time I overheard some teenagers saying something, and it triggered me and made me put this lesson together. Now, for those that know, that those that believe, we believe that children should not be baptized until the age of 20. There's really no use of a child being baptized before the age of 20 because they don't really know what they're getting into. Now I know some people want to baptize their baby when they first born and all that stuff. To me, they're just getting wet. Some of y'all may disagree with me, but the Lord shows us in this Bible that they're not accountable until for their actions. This is why they're under you, parents. They're not accountable for their actions when it comes to the Lord until the age of 20. And we're going to see why. All right? But just because, now I'm going to speak to the children, just because you're 19 and under does not mean the Lord won't deal with you. You might be held accountable and dealt with. And this is why children really need to see this lesson, because in these days, children feel the same way out on the street. Because what does the law say? And I ain't talking about God's law, man's law. They're juveniles. Even when I was coming up, man, if you do this and you get caught, ain't really nothing gonna happen to you because you a little kid. Adults did that to us. And now that those kids are adults, there's more and more kids feeling like, ain't nothing gonna happen, man. Ain't gonna do nothing to me. And sometimes it don't happen. But as you get older, when you get over a certain age and you keep doing it because you were a child, you going to jail or you gonna die. It's that plain. It's that simple. But let's read in Numbers 14. We're going to start at verse 26. This is when the Lord had them out in the wilderness. All right? Had them out in the wilderness. Let's see what the Lord says. Verse 26. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, how long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? That's our ancestors. I am Israel, and I blame me. That's our ancestors that the Lord is upset with. Just brought them out of bondage, Egypt. And they have upset him while they're out and they have freedom. You know, a wise older man told me one time. He said, if you ever read this Bible and you notice, and you look at our history, every time Israel goes into captivity, we humble ourselves. But as soon as they get a little freedom, we act a fool. Every time. Every time. Back to verse 26. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying unto Aaron, how long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, as truly as I live, saith the Lord, as ye have spoken in mine ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses, he's not talking to any other nation. He's speaking to our ancestors. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. Notice he got a cutoff spot. He said at 20 years old, everyone that has murmured against him. Let's see what he keeps saying. Verse 30. Doubtless ye shall not come into the land. They're not getting in the land. He brought them out of Egypt. All of these grown adults saw exactly what the Lord did and understood. But because they kept complaining and whining and testing the Lord, he said, y'all not getting into the promised land. Doubtless ye shall not come into the land, concerning which I swear to make you dwell therein, save Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. So, remember when the book said 600,000 men alone came out? That didn't count all of the women and all of the children. So out of 600,000, let's understand something too. This is also pointing towards the future. Out of all of them people, only 2 made it into the promised land. Only 2. Straight is the gate, narrow is the way, right? But look what he said about everything else. Verse 8. But your little ones, which ye said should be a prey, them will I bring, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. So, adults, you're not getting into this promised land. Your children are going to get in there. This is why we're saying children aren't held, they got to learn. And they're not held accountable till the age of 20. So why in the world would I even want to baptize my children before then, until they get some understanding what the baptism is about and what they're getting into? But this is the same thing that goes on now as well when it comes to everything else. Why do you think the law wants to put the parents in jail if the children do something? Ain't that something? Verse 32. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness. So, the adults did not teach the children. How do we know that? I don't have it in this lesson. But if you go to the book of Joshua, you can look it up. Joshua and Caleb, the only two that made it into the promised land, had to circumcise all the males. Well, why did they have to do that if they had the law already that said on the 8th day circumcise your males? Why? Because the males, the adults, were not circumcised. They weren't keeping the law. Plain and simple. So these two had to go circumcise all these boys from 19 years and under. The parents were held accountable and the children were not. But let's go to Genesis 1. So, when these students of mine were saying things like, well, you know, I ain't held accountable till I'm 20 years old. You know, some children have it in their mind, especially those in this world, this word, think I could do what I want to till I'm the age of 20. Let me tell you something. If you do what you want to, children, you get in that pattern and you're going to keep doing it. And then when the age of 20 comes, you're not going to stop. You're not going to stop at all. It's going to be another excuse. An excuse after excuse after excuse. You got to get it together now while your parents are trying to show you how to get it together now. So before we get into the rest of that lesson, let's establish who Christ is. All right? So I'm going to be going kind of fast with these scriptures. Let's establish who Christ is. Because again, the world believes that Christ is this cream puff, that he loved everybody. But we're going to show that Christ will get down on children too. But we got to see who Christ is. Because too many people think that the God of the Old Testament is the Father. And the God of the New Testament is Christ alone. Let's see. Let's go to the very beginning of the book. Genesis 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning, it said that God created the heavens and the earth, right? Let's go to St. John 1:1 now. Now let's remember, it said God created the heaven and the earth in the beginning. Well, let's see who was there in the beginning. St. John verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. So if it's saying that God created it, let's see who God is. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So now we know this God in the beginning that was with God. See, there's a family of that's called God. Just like all of us are men, the women are too. We're all the family of man. There's a family of God. And right now, the only ones in there is the Father and the Son. That's why in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But this one in the Godhead did what? All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was in the light, and the life was the light of men. The Son, who I call Christ or I call Jesus, is this person that's in the Godhead. Verse 10, now he comes into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. This did not happen to the Father. This happened to the Son. But as many as received him, them he gave power to become the sons of God, even to them that believed on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word was made flesh. Oh, so now remember, the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But now this Word was made flesh. Now we totally can confirm that this is Christ. This is Jesus. This is Yahawashi. This is Yahshua. Whatever you want to call him, that's who the Word is. All right? And dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, and the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Skip down to verse 18. No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, hath declared him. So we know in the beginning God was the Son and the Father, or the Father and the Son. Then the Son became flesh. But no man has ever seen the Father. Remember, he came in the flesh and everybody beheld his glory. They saw him. But he wasn't in the form of God anymore. He was in the form of man. So now it's being said, and let's go to St. John 5 in verse 37. And see out of Jesus' own mouth, he just repeated what John said in verse 1, in chapter 1. Verse 37, and the Father himself, which hath sent me, hath borne witness of me. Ye have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his shape. No man has ever seen the Father. I don't care what anybody ever tells you in the Old Testament. If no man has ever seen the Father, then who were they looking at? That was God at that time. The Son. You can go to, I believe it's Exodus 20, I think it's Exodus 24 or Exodus 33, one of the two, where they saw the backside of God. That was Christ. That wasn't the Father. All right? Like I said, I'm doing all this to establish who Jesus really is, because too many people have painted Jesus to be this soft cream puff. All right, let's go to St. John 6. St. John 6, one verse. Not that any man hath seen the Father, save he which is of God, save he which is of God. So now Christ is telling you, I'm of God too. But y'all have never seen the Father. He hath seen the Father. He's speaking of himself. This is Christ. This is Jesus. Let's go to St. John 8. St. John 8, we're going to read verse 56. This is when the Pharisees, is the Jews, they're all on Christ. Listen to the words that Christ tells us. St. John 8, verse 56. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day when he saw it, and was glad. Then said the Jews unto him, thou art not yet 50 years old. Hast thou seen Abraham? Listen to what Jesus says. He's finally telling them who he is. Jesus said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. He's telling them who he is. As a matter of fact, I don't have it in here. I believe it's Matthew 22. Let's go back that up with Matthew 22. Let me make sure this is it. Matthew 22, right? Yes, Matthew 22. Let's read verse 32. Again, this is Christ speaking. And let me put this in here for future. Matthew 22, verse 32. Let's see what Christ said. He said, I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. God is not a God of the dead, but of the living. So Christ has told them that God y'all ancestors was dealing with in the Old Testament, that's me. This is what Christ said. This is what the book say. All right? So nobody's ever seen or heard the voice of the Father or dealt with the Father directly. It's always been the Son as our intercessor. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Let's see what Paul said. Paul said something too. 1 Corinthians 10. 1 Corinthians 10. Let's see what Brother Paul said about Christ. Because again, Paul was a Pharisee. He knew the law. But let's see what he said. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant of how all of our fathers were under the cloud and passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. So Paul is saying, the God of the Old Testament, the one that said, I am, the one that said, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's who was in the wilderness with Israel. That's the one who said to Moses, 20 years old and up ain't getting into the land. But your children are going to sit out here in this wilderness. Go into the promised land. But he said that rock was Christ, right? Let's go to the law. Let's go back there to that wilderness. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32. So we done established already through the book, not through me, through the book, that Christ is the God of the Old Testament. The Father's giving orders, he's sitting back, but the one dealing with us directly is Christ. Deuteronomy 32, verse 4. He is the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment. The God of truth and without iniquity. Just and right is he. Just and right is he. Only my camp members know what I'm talking about with that one. But that is showing that this is the rock. And who's the rock? That's Christ, like Paul said. Let's skip down to verse 39. And now that we know the God of the Old Testament, if people think it's the Father going off on people, let's see who it really is. We know it's Christ, right? Let's read verse 39. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. This is Christ. He's saying there's no other God with me, because the only two in the Godhead is the Father and the Son, and they are as one. So there is no other God with them, put it like that. Just like there's no other man with me. I'm a man. We're all in the same family of man. That's what's going on when it comes to the Godhead. But what did he say again? I kill, I make alive, I wound, I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. That's gangster. Everybody always trying to prolong their life, especially rich folks that got money. A lot of people trying to be this tough guy all the time. This is the ultimate gangster. When he comes back, he gonna show how gangster he is. Why? Because he did it in the past. Let's go to Genesis 6. Now we know that Christ is the God of Israel. He's the one that we have to deal with, that is our intercessor. All right? The Father ain't hearing nothing from us unless our boss says something. Genesis 6. So now that we know that this is Christ, and Christ has just boasted himself and said, I am a gangster. He didn't say it that word, I'm paraphrasing. But he's saying, I kill, I make alive. Can't nobody touch me. Who could touch me? The only one that could touch him is the Father. But he obeying the Father. So can't nobody touch him. But who can he touch? Let's go to Genesis 6. We're going to start reading at verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Notice how it says the wickedness of man. That's the whole family. The whole man family. And it was great in the earth. For every imagination of his thoughts and of his heart was only evil continually. It repented the Lord that he made man on the earth. Wait a minute. Who's the one that we read in in John, the first chapter, that made everything? The Word did. Who's the Word? That's Christ. So this is showing that Christ, in the beginning, made everything. And now it repented him that he made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man. Wait a minute. This the dude that said, I kill, I make alive. I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and creeping thing, and the fowls of the air. For it repenteth me that I have made them. This is Christ. So in the beginning, we know that this is Christ, the God of the Old Testament. And it repented him that he made us. Because we as a people, we as man, was that wicked. Let's go to Genesis 7, start reading at verse 16. Genesis 7, 16. Now, it repented him so much, if you go back to Genesis 6, it says in verse 8, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. He found one person that he gave grace to. Because if you read this Bible, you understand there was a lineage that did what God said. Everybody else was wicked. Starting with Seth. All the way to Noah, the line was, and Noah was a part of this line that actually obeyed what the Lord said. So he had grace. He got mercy. So this is also showing, children, if your father, the head of the household, or if it's your mother, the head of the household, is keeping the commandments of God, she's not only getting grace and mercy for herself, but also for you. And if you abuse it, you can get taken out. We're going to get to this in a second. Because of Noah's obedience, his family was saved. So he told Noah to build an ark. He's getting ready. Yeah, he's sending all the animals in. Let's start reading at verse 16. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut them in. So now, all the animals came. Noah and his family was there, right? And the Lord is the one that shut them in. He built the ark. He did everything. It took him 100 years to build this ark. And the Lord is the one that saved him now, because they kept the commandment of God to build this ark a certain way. You do it, your works will save you. God didn't say, I'm going to build all this and put you in there and keep you. He said, if you want to live, this is what you do. Verse 19, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and that all high hills that were under the whole heaven were recovered. Verse 21, and all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both fowl and of the cattle and of beasts, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land died, and every living substance which was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. The only ones that were saved for being obedient was Noah, his 3 sons, Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives. Those are the only ones that were saved out of this flood. Where were the children? It said again, and all flesh died. This is Christ getting gangster because he repented. He was upset. He wished he never made man. Did he save the children? Because these people had children back then. It wasn't just all grown adults. This is the first time Jesus got gangster on the world. Not one child survived the flood. Not one. Let's go to Genesis 19. What I'm doing is I'm picking popular stories that maybe children know, so you parents can explain it to them too. All right, let's go to Genesis 19. Genesis 19, as we saw, Christ, who is the God of the Old Testament, because no man has ever seen the Father at any time, killed children in the flood because the wickedness of man was so great. Well, I just can't believe. That's not the God. Yes, it is. Because here's the pattern that happens, and we're living it in this day too. The pattern that happens is when children see wickedness, they think it's okay. Then they become wicked. Christ saw it all and said, I'm killing everybody. But Noah, you've been obeying me. You've been praying to me. I'm going to save you and your family if you save yourself and be obedient and do as I tell you to do. And that's why Noah and them made it to this side of the flood. Let's go into Genesis 19. Now, if if this shuts down, I'll do it again another day, because we're about to read Genesis 19, and we know how now everybody want to say what we're about to read is hate speech. Genesis 19 verse 1, and there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, which is evening. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them. And he bowed himself into the face of the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords. See, he knew that they were not Christ, but he knew who they were. He knew these cats was angels. Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and said, and they turned unto him and entered into his house, and he made them a feast and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. They told him, we're going to stay out here in these streets. Lot's like, oh, no, you not. You going to come into my house. You don't know these streets. Even though they did know, he didn't know they knew. They had orders. So let's keep reading. Verse 4. Genesis 19:4. But before they laid down, the men of the city, not the people, the men, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. This is old men and young men. Keep that in mind. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them. This is homosexuality. I couldn't leave this out, people. And the reason I couldn't leave this out is because now they're teaching the children that it's okay. I have a lesson called Homosexuality, the Attack on the Children. Go watch it. How you know there was men looking around? Because they all knew each other. And they saw these two guys going into Lot's house. Hey, where they at? We want to have sex with them. That's what this is saying. And verse 6. And Lot went out at the door unto them and shut the door after them and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Wait a minute. If this means they want to know them, as other people like to say, no, they just wanted to talk to them. Why would talking to another man be wicked? Nah, they want to get down. They want to smash these cats. Behold, now I have 2 daughters, which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as good in your eyes only. Unto these men do nothing. So Lot is telling these men of Sodom, young and old, don't come in here trying to mess with these cats. I got 2 daughters. Y'all, you can have them. But what did these cats say? Therefore, they came under the shadow of my roof. Lot is protecting these angels. He's willing to give his daughters to these men because these men are that wicked. And they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came into sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now we will deal worse with thee than with them. See, Lot wasn't from Sodom. He was there too, sojourning with the people of Sodom. And now that some other people then came, which we know that were angels, he's protecting them because these men want to have sex with these, what they thought is men. And he offered their daughters and they refused it. Got mad and said, when we get done with them, we gonna get you too. That thought mind process still goes on today. You tell someone that homosexuality is wrong, they ready to stomp you now. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the doors. See what I'm saying? Ain't nothing new under the sun. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door. So the angels reached out and they pulled Lot back into the house because the men were upset that Lot wasn't going to let them rape these men. This is what was about to happen. But people want to say you should be able to love whoever you want to love. That's not what the Lord is saying. You can love whoever you want to love. That's of the opposite sex. Verse 11, and they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. So the angels smote the men with blindness. They couldn't see. Now they're trying to figure out where the door is. They're probably trying to figure out what happened. All because the men of this city, the wickedness, sinning was going on greatly in these cities anyway. But the Lord is showing us he got a problem with homosexuality. This is what the book says. This ain't hate speech. This is what the book says. Verse 12, and the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides son-in-law, and thy sons and thy daughters? Whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because of the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. This is why these two angels came, to destroy this city. Lot protected them from all of them homosexuals, all of the sodomites that wanted to rape these two angels in the form of men. Offered up his virgin daughters, and they refused. That's wickedness. So if all the men, young and old, are doing, that means the babies, everybody else is looking at this too, like it's okay. Let's skip down to verse 24. Let's skip down to verse 17. I'm sorry. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, escape for thy life. Look not behind thee. These are the angels talking. Neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. So now Lot got to do something. Lord ain't just going to save him to be saved. He said through the angels to Lot, escape, leave. I'm giving you warning. I'm about to destroy this place. The same thing he did with Noah. Build the ark, because I'm about to destroy everything. And Lot said unto them, oh, not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy. The same thing Noah found, grace. The Lord gave him a chance to get away. He got the warning before the storm. He straight Doppler radar, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. I cannot escape into the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Let's skip down to verse 24. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire, and the Lord from the Lord out of heaven. So this is the Lord throwing stones and fire down on Sodom and Gomorrah and all the little suburban cities round about. And he overthrew the cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, which grew up upon the ground. But his wife looked back and behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. She disobeyed now. She got the warning at first, run. But the Lord said through the angels, don't look back. But she looked back anyway, and she died. And Abraham got up early in the morning in the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land and the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as smoke of furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham. See, if you read in Genesis 18, Abraham was negotiating with the Lord. And he kept saying, if there's any righteous men, he broke it from 50 down to 10 righteous men. Right? There was none except Lot. The Lord knew that, and so did Abraham. That means the children were wicked as well. Why? Because they saw what the adults were doing. And sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, and he went and he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. So here's the question again. How many children made it out of Sodom and Gomorrah? How many children made it out of Sodom and Gomorrah, children? None. None. The Lord is not a respecter of children either. None got out. I'm going to read this verse. Nah, we're going to keep doing it. I'm going to read it at the end because I want the kids to understand that they can be taken out too. I want them to understand this. The fear of the Lord got to be in children too. It has to be. Exodus 12. We're going to read again. Another story, another popular story. Exodus 12 verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, so now this is the Lord speaking to who? Aaron and Moses. Skip down to verse 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. This is Christ again. This is the Son, and he's the one saying what he will do. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. There's another warning coming. There's another warning coming. Verse 13. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are, and I will see the blood, and I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. This is Christ again saying, I'm coming and I'm killing all the firstborn. But if I'm telling you, you want to survive this, make sure you have the lamb's blood on your doorpost. So when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Verse 29. So they did all these things, right? The children of Egypt did. But they weren't the only ones. See, this is what I love about the Lord. There's some stuff that he does not write, but you put stuff together. Oh, because remember, when we came out of Egypt, there was a mixed multitude with us. So word, we can't hold, we like to say we can't hold water. We can't keep secrets. So Egypt was listening. Other nations that were there were probably listening. They done went through all these other plagues, and they're like, man, I don't know. Maybe I should put some blood on my doorpost. So what happened? Verse 29. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne until the firstborn of the captive which was in the dungeon, and of all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all of the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. All the firstborn, anybody who did not have that blood on their doorpost, their firstborn died. Didn't matter if he was an older man and his father was still living. He's a firstborn. She's a firstborn. But it also didn't matter if it was what? Children. First newborn babies. It didn't matter. Let's keep reading. Verse 31. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night. Who's he? Pharaoh. And said, rise up and get forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as ye have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people, that they may send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we all be dead men. See, now they like, look, get these people out of here before we all die. Same thing's going to happen in the future, people. Because God's going to be fighting. God's going to be doing some things. And people going to be like, man, let's put them on them ships and send them back or something. Something's going to happen. But God killed the firstborn. He didn't give an age limit. This is Christ. Is Christ a respecter of children? Let's go to Joshua. Let's go to Joshua 6. Because Christ did some killing, and he also made Israel do some killing. He gave orders for the nation of Israel to do some things. Joshua 6, we're going to start at verse 1. And Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out, none came in. And the Lord said unto Joshua, see, I have given unto thine hand Jericho, the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. Let's skip down to verse 5. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long black, you know what? Let's go back to verse 3. Let's read it straight down. And ye shall come past the city, ye all men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days. And the 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram horn. And the 7th day ye shall come past the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when they hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the walls of the city shall fall down flat. And the people shall ascend up every man straight before him. So we had the Lord gave a commandment. Go to Jericho, go around the city for 6 days once. 7th day, go around 7 times, blowing these ram's horns, and make sure all the people shout, and the wall's gonna come down, right? Let's skip down to verse 20. So the people shouted when the priest blew the trumpets, and it came to pass that when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, that the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox and sheep and ass, with the edge of the sword. How many children survived the battle of Jericho? None. Because the Lord commanded Israel, kill everything, burn everything. Don't take nothing out of here. Let's get some understanding, children. Especially those that think, I'm 19 and under. Lord ain't gonna do nothing to me. I can do what I want to until I become 20. Let's go to 2 Kings. Oh, I love this story here. Because everything we've read so far were really children that did not know any better. Now let me establish something else for some parents that's probably on the phone right now, making phone calls, being a talebearer. I have no idea what a child or anybody's judgment will be. But what I do know from out of this book is that Christ will get down on children as well. All the kids that we just talked about in these stories did not know the Lord. They didn't know. But now we're going to read about some that do. 2 Kings 2. 2 Kings 2, verse 23. Parents, make a mental note. Write this down. Read it to your kids all the time, especially if you got little ones. 2 Kings 2, verse 23. And he went up from hence unto Bethel. This is talking about the prophet Elisha. He's walking. And he went up from thence unto Bethel, and as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head. Go up, thou bald head. So they was teasing him because he ain't had no hair. They mocked him. These are little children. But what happened afterward? Verse 24. And he, who was Elisha, turned back and looked upon them and cursed them in the name of the Lord. These days, people will be like, oh, that was so evil. That was, oh, how could he say that to the children? How can he say that? Oh my God, he cursed them in the name of the Lord. He should be put to death. That's what society says today. But what did the Lord do then? And there came forth 2 she-bears. 2 female bears came out of the wood and tear 42 children of them. Now, I used to say it was 42, but there could have been more. But 42 of them died by 2 bears. Why? Because they disrespected their elder. Let me say that louder. They disrespected their elder. These were children of Israel. Their parents should have been teaching them. But let's say their parents did, and the children wanted to do what they wanted to do. And they disrespected their elder. And the elder turned around and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And the Lord sent 2 female bears to kill 42 children. Little children, I'm sorry. Is Christ a respecter of children? I don't think so. They were teasing. I also read this for children when it comes to, hey, well, let's just keep going. When it comes to, hey, if the crowd is doing something, don't follow the crowd. Out of these 42 children, let's just say 1 of them, 2 of them was teasing, and all the rest is laughing. You're like, yeah, he roasted them, man. You know, what's the other one? He treating them and all of that. They ended up dying because of what someone else was doing. They joined in. You got to remember this, children. When you out here on these streets, when you with your friends, if they doing something that you know is against the Lord, don't join in with them. Because you could possibly die too. But they was teasing, right? Let's go to Proverbs 18. It's best for you to stand back. You got friends that's like that, and they start teasing, just stand back like, I ain't gonna do with this. I ain't got nothing to do with this, because y'all tripping. Eventually, if you keep doing what the Lord say, you probably gonna start easing your way from them anyway. If you're smart. Proverbs 18. But they was teasing him, right? They ended up getting killed by 2 bears. Proverbs 18, verse 21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. You have death and life in the power of your mouth. The words that you speak. Elisha said he cursed them in the name of the Lord and death came upon them. But the kids brought it upon themselves, teasing Elisha because he had no hair on his head. You could also speak life to a person, because why? Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. You got two types of fruit. You got bad, rotten fruit, and you got good fruit. Which one are you going to deal with, children? You going to deal with the rotten fruit of this world? Or you going to deal with the good fruit of the Lord and live? It's your choice. I'm just a messenger. Proverbs 6. Go back a couple of chapters to Proverbs 6. And children, if you don't understand, your parents will explain it to you, because that's their job, to keep you out of harm's way. But society now says, you your own generation. You ain't get, hey, we grew up with that too. Proverbs 6, verse 12. A naughty person, a wicked man walketh in forward mouth. I'm going to read that again. A naughty person, a wicked man walketh with a froward mouth. That's a corrupt mouth. They love to speak evil all the time. They love to talk about people all the time. They love to lie on people all the time, because they got insecurities about themselves. I'm going to tell you something. Someone that loves to talk about somebody all the time got some type of insecurity about themselves, and they trying to keep it off of them and put it on somebody else. And I don't care if they're in the word or not. That's what they do. They love to tease and talk about somebody else to keep their insecurities away from everybody else. And they need to work on that. Men, women, and children. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. Frowardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually. He soweth discord. Mischief. Always got something going on. Always got people against each other. He soweth discord. Watch your friends. I hope you're not like that. Hope you're not the leader of the pack of a wicked pack, because this is describing you. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. He's doing all this stuff. All of a sudden, bam. What's that story again? The boy who cried wolf. Mischief and discourse. Sowing discord. And then eventually, when the wolf came, nobody believed. Therefore his calamity comes suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. Let's keep reading. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. We're going to read what Christ hates, children and adults. 6 things that the Lord hate. Yeah, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that are swift in running into mischief, false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. The Lord hates these things. You don't like a certain person, so you start lying and making up stories about them, so your friends don't like that person. The Lord hates that. If somebody does that to you, children, just, hey, okay, that ain't me. Your real friends will see the real you if you are real yourself. But if you're trying to be what everybody else is because of popularity, it'll get you in trouble. But these are the things that the Lord hates. Let's read them again. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, And heart that I can never say this word right, deviseth wicked imaginations. Feet that are swift into running into mischief. Let me explain that. Feet that are swift into running to get in trouble. You've been told by your parents not to do something. Your friends say they're going to do it, but you got to go do what your friends say. Forget what your parents say. Feet that be swift in running into mischief. Don't think adults don't do it either. I mean, too. It's the same thing for all this stuff isn't just for y'all children. I'm not just This adults need a refreshment course too. A false witness that speaketh lies. Liars will not get into the kingdom of God. You can go to Revelation 22, the last book, in verse 15, and it'll tell you all liars ain't getting into the kingdom. Let's keep reading verse 20. My son, keep thy father's commandment, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Ooh, bind them continually upon thy heart, and tie them about thy neck. Ooh, so when your parents is telling you things, you need to remember them and stop letting the outside world and your friends make you forget them. Because again, Christ is not a respecter of children either. Let's talk to the parents a little bit. Proverbs 22. We're going to just talk a little bit to the parents. But the children, you listen to. Because this is also for you. The main thing is for you, period. Proverbs 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way they should go. I'm sorry. Train up a child in the way he should go. They too. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, you can bring your children up in this word, but the world might get to them. I've seen children that I had in the class don't come back. They got out, they became a certain age, and then they left. Some were shameful. Some sisters were shameful because they got a boyfriend, they got pregnant, they was too scared to come back. I'm going to say to y'all sisters too, don't leave the Lord because you made a mistake. Don't be too embarrassed to repent and come back. But a lot of children get taught, they go out and do what they want, and then they come back when they see how bad that world is. Or some don't. But our job as parents is to train them up in the way they should go. That's what the Lord is looking at when it comes to us. We do our job and they go off the deep end. That's on them. It ain't on us. I have a brother that has been in and out of prison for murder at least 3 times since he was, 15. That's him. That's what he wanted to do. Wasn't like he didn't have good training, but that was what he wanted to do. Let's go to Deuteronomy 4. Deuteronomy 4. We're going to read 2 verses out of there. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Like we just got finished reading. Train up a child in the way he should go, and he will not depart from it when he get old. All right. Deuteronomy 4, we're going to read 1 verse. 2 verses. But we're going to read verse 1. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them that ye may live, and go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers giveth you. So this is Moses is saying here, these commandments need you to do what the Lord say to do, because it's for you to live. All this stuff is for you to live. Skip down to verse 40. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee forever. We're being told these commandments, these statutes, which Moses is giving us, which the Lord is saying, I command thee this day, keep them with you and with your children, that you may live long upon the earth. So parents, we got to teach our children these commandments. Even the 10, just the 10. Start them off with that. As you're living through the commandments, they're going to live through the commandments. My children haven't really read everything on what to do on the Sabbath day or what not to do, but because I'm telling them and I can show them, they're doing it. Now, when they get older, that don't mean they're going to do it on their own. They're on their own now, right? Over the age of 20. But in my house, right? We gonna serve the Lord. Uh-oh, I'm shining. Shining. Let's go to Ephesians 6. Keep the law for your children, because that's not what Israel did when they came out of the wilderness. They didn't keep the law. Their children got in, but they died. But if you keep reading the book too, you will see that even those children didn't teach their children right either. And then you might want to say the third generation that came out of Egypt started serving other gods. That's when you go in the book of Judges. They started celebrating Christmas, Easter, Ashtaroth and Baal. Do your job, parents. Ephesians 6 verse 1. Now let's get back to the children, because the Lord gave us a job to teach you. And if we don't do our job, we got to answer for that, right? But you got a job too, to listen to your parents. Verse 1. Ephesians 6 verse 1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Obey your parents. If your parents is doing righteous things, even though you may not want to do it. You may not want to do it. I don't even know. I don't know if I should ask my kids. When y'all first came here, children,
Yes.
how did you feel about me shutting everything down on the Sabbath day? And y'all wasn't used to that. You thought it was weird?
Yes.
Daughter of mine,
Sissy.
how did you feel about the first time I told y'all that we're shutting down everything on the Sabbath day? Terrible?
Yes.
Because you weren't used to it.
Yes.
But now y'all used to it.
Yes.
And it's not a big deal. That's why if you're living it, they will get used to it. My children was gone from me for about 7 years. Now when they get older, they may keep it. I don't know. But I'm teaching them. And that's what I'm saying when it comes to the laws of God. We got to show them. That's our job. But the children must obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. In the Lord. Obey your parents in the Lord. That means your parents are trying to do right by the Lord, so you should obey them. Verse 2. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise. The first commandment with promise? Obeying your mother and your father is the commandment of promise. Verse 3. That it may be well with thee, and with that thou may livest long on the earth. That is the first commandment with promise. Let's go read it. Deuteronomy 5. Let's go back to the law. Deuteronomy 5. Ephesians 6 says that honoring your mother and your father, and I mean both of them, even if your parents is telling lies on each other to make you mad, it's still saying, honor thy mother and thy father, because this is the first commandment with promise. Deuteronomy 5, let's read. And verse 16. Deuteronomy 5 and 16. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. If you honor your mother and your father, you can live a long life. My foster mother raised 8 boys, 2 girls. We watched our mother cry all the time because her 2 sisters, she got an older sister and a younger sister, and her mother tease her all the time. My foster mother was, compared to the other 2 sisters, not that, fair. All right? But the other 2 would always mess with her, and they would gang up on her with Medea. And for years we watched her cry over this. My foster father, same thing. Like, why do you put up with this? As soon as Medea had a stroke and became bedridden, they all wanted to put her in a home, but my mother said, no, I'm going to take care of her. Y'all just come help me. Her sisters didn't come help her at all. She took care of that woman for years. The same woman who talked about her so bad, with her 2 siblings that talked about her so bad, she cried because why my family like this to me? Then her father had a stroke. Now, he wasn't bedridden, but he wasn't that much in her life either. But he came and she took care of both of them. He wasn't bedridden, but he had a cane and he had to walk slow. My foster mother took care of both of them. She's what, 80 or 90 something years old? And of course, her parents are dead. But guess who died first? Her younger sister. At a young age. And then her older sister. But my foster mother's still living. That's the promise. I don't care if you think your mother is the most terrible thing in the world, or your father. You still got to honor them, because that's what thus saith the Lord. The Lord will deal with your parents' children if they've been evil to you. But you can't return evil for evil, because the Lord don't respect children either. He really doesn't. You can't be, and when they tell you to do something, you can't, you can be a little upset about it, but don't be displaying it. And what do we call that? We call that, oh, you talking back to me? Oh, you trying to give me some lip? Let's go to Proverbs 30. Because when your parents are trying to tell you something and you got a little, I was about to say the word I usually say, you got a little attitude about it, the Lord is watching that too. Proverbs 30, Proverbs 30. And we're going to read verse 11. There's a generation that curseth their father, and doth not bless their mother. There's a generation that are pure in their own eyes, and yet it is not washed from their filthiness. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are as swords. Ooh. What did we read about coming out of your mouth? Death and life. There's a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among men. Skip down to verse 17. Listen closely, children, because this is for you. The eye that mocketh his father. The eye that mocketh at his father, and despises to obey his mother. The ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. The eye that mocketh of his father, or the eye that mocketh his mother. Young women, young girls, even some of y'all boys, when your parents tell you to do something and you do this right here, rolling your eyes, huffing and puffing. Look what happened back then that could still happen today, but in a different way. The ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. The Lord will send ravens to dash out your eyes so you can't roll them no more. And the eagles will eat it. Now, how the Lord will do it today, I don't know. I'm reading what the book is saying to children, even adults. Let's read that one more time. The eye that mocketh his father, and despiseth to obey his mother. Yeah. The ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. Watch how you trip when your parents tell you something. Your parents, the majority of parents are not telling children anything just to be evil. Most parents, because I can't say all, there are some evil parents out here. But most parents are telling their children to do something for their good. That's what thus saith the Lord, for us to do. Teach. Because again, the children of Israel came out of the wilderness, out of Egypt, into the wilderness, and did not teach their children. And the Lord killed the parents. And Caleb and Joshua had to teach these children. Now the children are taught, but then they didn't teach their children. This is why the Lord starts killing children ahead of time. Like, you know what? This is why that happens. This is why Christ ain't a respecter of children. Deuteronomy 21. Let's start reading at 18. We're going to read something that happened in the land when it came to children who did not want to obey their parents. Now, this doesn't happen today, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. But let's read this, because, I'm explaining now. There are a lot of Christian or urban apologists that like to read this, and they're really mocking you when you deal with them. All right? What they're trying to say is, do you believe in this now? You saying keep the whole law. Shouldn't you be doing this now? Understand something, people. There are things that the Lord took away from us. Even though this is in the law, we cannot do this anymore, because we are living in another land with other man's laws. If we were in our land with this government, this would be able to be applied. And I know people going to be like, oh my goodness, are you serious? I can't believe he believed that. I'm telling you what the book says. Let's read what the book says. Deuteronomy 21 verse 18. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him will not hearken unto them. If parents have a rebellious son or daughter, and they done got that rod, and chastise them, and they still don't want to listen, this is what the Lord said. Then shall his father and his mother lay hold to him, bring him out into the elders of his city, and unto the gates of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shalt thou put away evil from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. This was done because if you had one person going around doing evil things, getting away with it, the rest of the children gonna see that, and now they want to do the same thing. And that's the times we're living in right now, because the law says what? You can't, they're juveniles, so they get a lot of breaks. And then the other children see it, and then they get along, they start doing the same thing. That's why the streets are the way they are now. But what did the Lord tell us to do in the land under the government of God? Stone that boy, stone that girl. Because what happens now is the other children are like, hey, what you say to do, Ma? Hey, Pops, what you say? Okay. But that don't happen now. That was to scare the other children into obeying their parents in the Lord to live long. But Satan has flipped all that around to now they want to call DCFS on you. That's dishonoring your, ooh, yeah, children. Hold on, I gotta sip this one. Yeah, children. Calling your parents, calling DCFS or the police on your parents, that's dishonoring your mother and your father. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. They done disciplined you about something that you did, and then you got your behind whooped, and now you want to call the police, and they take you and take your children, and take your parents to jail. You think you're going to live a better life? You end up in the DCFS system. Sometimes we are taught some things without thinking. I'm gonna call my police on my parents to teach my parents a lesson. Next thing you know, you living in an orphanage. You living in a group home. You don't see your family no more. The rest of your family. You done messed it up for your other brothers and sisters, because now everybody's scattered all over the place. That happens. When I was taken away from my mother, I grew up in a group home up on the north side. I saw so many kids coming in and going. It ain't all it's cracked up to be, because you don't know where you're going. So when your parents discipline you on something that you've done wrong, accept the punishment. So yes, then we stoned our children. Now that we living in another society and we can't do that, the Lord is stoning children. You don't think these little bullets are stones? Because remember, we read where it says, took it out to the elders and all the men stoned that child. Lord uses other people to get his work done. So when I see the news all the time, when I hear about somebody that got shot, one of the first things that come to my mind when it comes to children, were they obeying their parents? Did they have the hedges around them? That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Now that doesn't mean all children were killed because they were disobedient. Let's go to Isaiah 57. Because again, I know there's gonna be some people that's gonna be like, oh, there he go. I need to make a phone call. Which I'm gonna deal with probably in my next lesson. Talebearers. Isaiah 57. So even though the Lord is doing all of this to children too, here's something that he does for not only just children, but for adults as well. Isaiah 57, verse 1 and 2. The righteous perisheth, and no man layeth the heart. The merciful men are taken away. These are people that are righteous. These are people that are merciful. None consider that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. He shall enter into peace. They shall rest in their beds, each one walking in his uprightness. Yes, sometimes the Lord will take people at a young age, at a mid-age, whatever, to preserve them because they were being righteous. Maybe they were innocent. They were meek. Where did I read that again? Merciful, I mean. Sometimes that happens. So it's not to me always did that child obey their parents. But that is the first thing that comes to my mind. Like this sister that got killed here in Chicago. Hanging with the wrong people. Now, I don't know what anybody's judgment going to be. I can't remember if the baby died or not. But if the baby did die, reserved. That's what this is talking about. That's why, listen, when you get the peace of Christ and you know what's going on in this world, some things don't mess with you that much anymore. When I hear about babies getting killed, it's a sad thing, but I already know he's reserving them. We get upset because, oh, a 2-year-old got shot. It's just unbelievable. I'd be like, the Lord must be preserving them. But when it get to some other kids, I'd be like, man, I wonder if they was listening to their parents or not. Because the Lord did tell us he was going to take our kids out too for us disobeying him. But again, it comes down to the judgment. What is the judgment going to be? None of us know that. So I like to believe this. This is my faith. With chapter 57, Isaiah, verse 1 and 2. Now let's go to Revelation 19 and get back to the scare tactic. We're going to talk about the future. Now, the Lord did all that in the past. He's doing things now. But he also going to do stuff in the future. Remember when we talked about he got so gangster in the beginning that he killed the whole world and no children got out? Let's go to Revelation 19 and start reading at verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness doth he judge and make war. His eyes were a flame of fire, and his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed in a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. There is Christ again. The word Christ is Jesus, Yahawashai, Yahushua, Yahuwah, whatever you want to call him, is coming back on a horse. And he's doing what? And in righteousness does he judge and make war. Let's keep reading. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon the white horse clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth goeth a sharp sword, that with it should he smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of his fierceness and wrath of Almighty God. Christ is coming back. He gonna clean up. He gonna do so much killing. There's gonna be so much blood that he has to call. Let me see. Am I gonna read it? Yes, I am. There's gonna be so much blood. Let's read. Skip down to verse 17. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together into the supper of the great God, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and all of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. Why are all these fowls and beasts coming to eat all these men? Because the Lord started killing everybody. You don't want to be in that. What is it? Prophet Job said, keep me in the grave till that's over with. They knew back then about this day. But it said in verse 15, he treadeth the winepress with the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God. What is a winepress? A winepress is when you get grapes and you put the grapes in this winepress, and you make grape juice too, and you squeeze down, and all the blood of the grapes, which is the juice, comes out. Some people, they stomp on it to get it all out. But that's what a wine press is. It does that. It presses it down. That's what Christ's going to be doing to men. And all the blood's going to come out. And what's left? The flesh of people. That's why he's saying all the birds and the beasts come. Great supper of the Lord for you. You don't want to be a part of that. Some of you may be living when this happens, because this time is getting closer and closer for the Lord to come. Now, we don't know when. So if anybody ever tells you, we know it's going to be in the year like this year. Everybody's saying the 400 years is over with in August. They don't know prophecy. Some trying to extend it to 2024 now. No, you keep the commandments of God so you don't be a part of this when the Lord comes back and starts killing folks. Because there will be flesh and blood in Christ's kingdom. So you have the chance to make it to Christ's kingdom if you're keeping the laws and commandments of God, children. Because you don't want to be a part of this. What you want to be is what we read earlier. Let's go to Revelation 14 and 12. Here are the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to be. That's what your parents are trying to teach you. Because Christ is not a respecter of children. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 12. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 12. So for any of you children, most of you that are in this word already know you got to keep the commandments. But just for any children who's sneaking and watching this, and someone's telling you you don't have to keep the commandments of God no more, let's read Ecclesiastes 12. If you don't know where it is, children, it's right after Proverbs. Got Psalms, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes 12. Let's read verse 13 and 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This is what the saints did. You want to be a saint? keep the commandments of God, and the faith of Jesus, who said, keep the commandments of God. For God will bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. That's what you need to do. Because you don't want the Lord to take you out on unrighteousness. Again, like I read earlier, some people get taken out, some people die early. Maybe the Lord was holding them in reserve because they were that righteous. But sometimes, most of the time, it's wickedness. And you don't want to follow the wicked. Let's go to Psalms 37. Yeah, Psalms 37. You don't want to follow the wicked, and then you also don't want the wicked ways of other people to upset you. Let's read Psalms 37 and 1. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. Don't be like, man, all they ever do is some bad stuff and they just getting rewarded all the time. And I'll be trying to do good and man, just nothing happens for me. I'll be all upset and it ain't fair. I can't go do this and because that's the evil ways of the world. That's why we got to be separate. Now you can go do some things, but I'm telling you, there's some things you should not be doing on the Sabbath. And even adults have to deal with this. The biggest shopping time of the whole week is on the Sabbath day. Satan has set it up that way. There will soon be laws telling us we can't do it on Sunday. Because they're trying to make that the Sabbath day. But the Sabbath day is on the seventh day of the week. So we can't go shopping on the Sabbath. We got to wait till Sunday. But if Sunday come around and the laws get passed, guess what? We can't even shop or do anything on Sunday. So don't fret because of what evil people are doing. Don't fret because you can't do some things that the evil people are doing. You don't want to get caught up in what they're doing. Let me ask another question to my children. Children, how did you guys feel? Now, y'all already knew that I didn't celebrate Christmas and Easter. But how did y'all feel when you first came here and we ain't do it? Come on, man. Come on now. How did you feel about it? Serious. All right. My son said he really never cared about it. Huh? I can't hear a word she's saying.
I care. She said I care.
So you cared about it.
Yes.
And you liked it. Right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about it now? You still want to do it?
Yeah. It's like family stuff, but I mean, that's whatever.
Right. So the family part is what you like, but it wasn't that necessarily dealing with another God. But because it's all on the same thing, you can't do it. So you can't really fret and be envious of the evildoers. Now my son, he just said he really never cared about it. He must got that from me because I really never cared about it either. In my house, it used to be a fight all the time. I'm just like, I don't even want to deal with this. And I'm talking about when I was a kid. But the thing is, you can't fret over what the workers of iniquity are doing. What is iniquity? Iniquity is sin. What is sin? Go to 1 John 3 and 4, and it tells you that sin is the transgression of the law. People are breaking the law. There's nothing wrong with trying to talk to them to stop. But don't be mad because, man, Christmas. You got something way better for you. This lifespan is this, but forever is, man, come on. Don't let your flesh get you in trouble. Let's go to Ephesians 4. Don't let your flesh get you in trouble. Because of these things, people will tease you. The rest of the world will tease you over these things. What's wrong with you? You don't keep Christmas? You don't keep Easter? You don't eat pork? You don't go to church on Sunday? They're going to tease you over these things. But don't fret about it. Your parents are in this word. Stick with them. Don't let the rest of this world, especially that TV and music, separate you from your parents. Because if you want to live long, you have to obey them. Ephesians 4. Ephesians 4, we're going to read verse 26 and 27. Be ye angry and sin not. You will be angry when people tease you because you don't do what the rest of this world does. You will feel down about it. You're allowed to be angry. But he say, but sin not. Don't retaliate. Even with your parents. You can be angry at us, but don't sin. And what does it say in the law? Honor thy father and thy mother. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. See, because you may be angry, but you better control yourself. Because what happens is you're giving your place over to the devil so he can help you sin. Either against your parents or against anybody that's teasing you. That's messing with you. I have to live this every day. And I do mean every day. I have to live with people teasing me, saying stuff about me, because I'm trying to live the word the right way. I have a problem with people making phone calls because they don't understand some things. And instead of doing what Christ said, I said I wasn't going to get into this. Instead of doing what Christ said in Matthew 18 and calling me or inboxing me, they skip right on over to the church. They skip the whole thing Christ said. Yes, these people say that they are in the Lord. They in the word and they love Christ. But they ain't doing what Christ said. But I don't sin back on them. If I could have that type of control, you could do the same thing. That's what this is all about. Now, as this lesson comes to a close, we know that Christ is not a respecter of children. He will take children out too. He knows all of our minds. He knows this. He's taken out children in the past. He had Israel taking out children in the past. There's some other stories in here about how we had to go in and kill all the males, and I mean all the males, but I ain't want to get into that. There's a story about, if you know about King David. King David committed adultery with another woman, got her pregnant, and because of King David's sin, the Lord killed the child. Christ is not a respecter of children. He may give you a little bit more grace and mercy, but eventually, if he makes that decision for you to be gone, you gone. You don't want to be a part of that decision. So I thank you guys for watching. Please share the video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel under the same name, Isaac K. Fingers. And hope y'all have a good Sabbath. And again, children, Christ ain't a respecter of children. If your parents in this word trying to do it the right way, listen to them. Don't rebel. In Jesus' name.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake.